welcome to another great edition of Mississippi Stories. I am your host, editor-at-large, and editorial cartoonist for Mississippi Today. It's really fun for me to try to pick out guests and find people that I think you would love to meet. And our guest today is somebody that I have to admit I love to have known. I've known her for a long time. I think we met about 20 years ago in Leadership Jackson, but I have marveled at her career as she has climbed the ranks and occasionally stumbled and gotten back up and kept going. And she's one of the most positive people that I know. We have Pam Confer on today. And this is according to her biography. She's a professional HR trainer, motivational speaker, and jazz singer. Folks, if you have not heard her sing, I recommend going to YouTube and pulling her up. She's just incredibly talented. And I love this, with a spirited flair, which I think is pretty true as well. Pam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Marshall. Good to have you. Great morning.
Oh, man, I tell you what, anytime I can talk to you is a good day, because you actually motivate me, which, some days I need, so it's always good to hang into. Let me ask you a real weird question. You good for that?
Yeah, you know what? I just thought about something. I said to you, good to have you. And I meant to say good to be here.
Yeah, I guess that is technically a little weird, but that's okay.
But you know what? I think about the fact that we invite each other into each other's atmosphere. So anywhere we are, it's an invitational thing. So I think it's okay.
No, I think it's work. I think it's fine. Let me ask you kind of a weird question. It seems like every time I see a picture of you or I see you, you're wearing the necklace with the star. What does the star represent?
Yeah, for me, it's a reminder. It's all it is, that we all are special and unique in our own ways. And I was just in Dallas last week, and everybody thought that I was wearing the star for them. And it was just so funny. And it was hard to explain. It's simply just a reminder that we all are just so special, and we all have unique things to offer the world. And so every day it is my signature piece that I wear.
Today they've announced that we've crossed the 1 million death threshold on COVID, right? And the reason I bring that up is not that this is going to be a medical interview, but, we have gone through the last couple of years where the virus has literally been like Toto in the Wizard of Oz and has ripped back the curtain on everything. I mean, whether it's our government institutions, whether it's our religious institutions, whether it's our society as a whole, or us individually a little bit. And and not always revealed good things. And I can say that on a personal level. I've seen some real flaws in myself. What is your kind of take on, where we go from this point? Because like I said, there's been so much disruption, whether it's the supply chain or everything else, and whether in fact people just scream at each other on Facebook. What is your take, and how can we get past that?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. And I just say straight towards opportunity. That's where we go. Yeah. In the Chinese language, there are two symbols for crisis. One of those symbols is danger, and the other symbol is opportunity. And I think for us, especially those of us, Marshall, in the United States, we're so used to being privileged. If the stoplight doesn't work, someone needs to fix that. The stop sign is bent. Someone needs to fix that. We're waiting on someone to fix something all the time because that's the way we've always existed. But I think what COVID has done for us is allowed us to do some very serious introspection. Yeah. Like, what is it that I need to do to better myself, to better people around me, to better the world? That is the gift that COVID has given all of us. I've been teaching for the past 3 days, and I'm an instructor in a number of HR realms, just talking about how the hybrid type of work environment has really changed everything. Yeah. And specifically, for example, the division of Medicaid for the state of Mississippi. I'll give that example. For many years, everyone would have to come into that office, wherever it is around the state of Mississippi in our 82 counties, to apply for Medicaid and to traverse their journey to make sure everything is solid. And for the first time in history, because of COVID, people can do this virtually. People can call on the phone. So if you imagine someone that's elderly, that had to get a ride, couldn't drive, people who don't have cars in rural areas, now they can virtually get Medicaid. For me, that's a game changer in the field of healthcare, especially for a state like Mississippi, but it would have never been done, right? I'm pretty sure over the years, employees said, can't we just do this with people from their homes? And I'm pretty sure people said, no, we've never done things that way. That's not the way we do things. But because of COVID, we have an opportunity to see our lives so differently. And I've had friends who have lost loved ones. I've lost friends to COVID. And if we can't get anything out of this, we should carve out any opportunity to make anybody's life better. For every person that was lost, for every person in that million that was lost, there should be something that we do individually every single day to make this world a better place. That would be the gift of something that ripped us apart initially.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, because I noticed really early on it made the world small. It made my world small. I went from editor at large to editor sitting at my kitchen table, drawing for 17 hours, worried that I might lose my job. It was like suddenly, and how I responded to it. I responded to how I always respond to things. And after about 4 or 5 months of that, I realized this isn't working. I've got to change. And it was literally, I viewed it as a change agent, right? Obviously you're worried. You don't, I'm of the age where I don't want to get it, because it's like, I'm now getting in the older side of things. And, I was a little heavy at the time, and I still am, but literally I see so many, like, for instance, what we're doing right now, we're talking on Zoom, we don't even think anything about that anymore. I spoke to 1,000 people on Zoom, the other day. It's totally changed. I'm going to go into the office. I'm sitting in my kitchen. I'm going to go into the office later today, and I'll probably work at home a little bit at 9 o'clock tonight. So it's totally changed how we view life and everything. And yeah, there's been a lot of bad things, but I think there's been some good things out of it too.
Yeah, I think a lot more good things. We evolve out of discomfort. That is what we do as human beings,
right,
through trials and tribulations. And so this is, like I said before, this is our opportunity. This is our time to have anything manifest that we thought. I tell people all the time, any ideas that you had at work before, this is the time. Everyone's looking for a solution, a new way to do things. And we've got it. We've all got it right here.
One of the things I love about you is your energy, obviously. Like I said, we met back 1.5 million years ago in the 2000 class of Leadership Jackson, and I admired you then. But I've watched you overcome. You've had a few things. You had a really nice job with a local corporation here, and that job went away. And literally how you responded to that was, oh, I'm going to up my education. Oh, I'm going to make some positive changes. Oh, I'm going to go out there and hang my shingle and make some differences. When people right now are maybe they're hurting or they're scared or everything else, what do you recommend to them to be able to change and to have that kind of spirit to not get into the fetal position, but to actually make positive changes?
Yeah, progress goes this way. It is absolutely this way. And I think defeat is in our heads, it's in our minds, right? We have to follow our hearts. And if you are a multi-talented person, which it's impossible for anyone in Mississippi not to be multi-talented. Right. I refuse to believe with as many jobs and different things that we do, everyone in Mississippi is a multi-talented person. You call upon that, you proceed as boldly as you can. And I did have a wonderful opportunity with a corporation in Mississippi who was trying to get them to know their citizens better. Yeah. And that was one of the best opportunities for me to be able to draw this connection between corporate America and community. Yeah. From that, I wrote Mississippi Beautiful, the song that we're hoping to make our new anthem, the song that plays every single day in the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum. From that, Governor Bryan and I got together and established Mississippi Beautiful Day so that all of our 82 counties can celebrate how beautiful Mississippi is in their own way, wherever they are. From that, as I was working on my doctoral degree, Marshall, I switched my entire title to working with international companies who moved to the U.S. to help them to establish cross-cultural literacy competencies so that they can relate with communities. So it's every single thing that you go through in life, for me, allows you to learn more things about yourself, more things about people around you, and more things about the world. And if you can get those three things, those three boxes checked, then it's not a defeat. It is a wonderful lesson and opportunity for you to evolve, to be elevated, to grow. And that is what's significant to me.
Definitely. I I agree with you 110% on that. Like I said, I admire how you did that. And by the way, I was going to ask you about the song, and I'm glad you touched on it a little bit. Wasn't that day, what, in that May 10th? I was trying to think. Yeah, so it was just recently. So I thought,
It was just recently.
yeah, I thought, well, it's May 10th. I feel really proud about Mississippi for some reason. I couldn't put my finger on it. Then I saw it was Mississippi Day. So that was very cool. How did you come up with the song?
Yeah, so I tell you, honestly, in working with the private sector, and I had one of those days, had these serious conversations. We need corporate America in our communities. We need businesses. We need their philanthropic hand in our communities. And we also need people to understand the presence of corporate America, the reasons why they exist. And I was having a long day, Marshall, working with both factions, which is what I consider I do the best. If you put me in the middle of two opposing entities, my heart and my desire, every fiber of my being is about connecting them. I can take two people who don't like each other and find a way to glue them together. That's what I think I'm here for on this earth. So that is what I was doing. And I was having a very long day. The corporate America entity was saying, oh, we don't trust community. And the community was saying, oh, we don't trust them. And I was like, oh my goodness, we've got to figure out how to work together. And I was walking my dog, my late dog, Jazzy. Mm-hmm. And, I'm from Mississippi. So, a walk is like 30 minutes for me. But I was walking her and I just started singing the song. Who are we? What do we stand for? Nothing remains the same. Even the seasons change. Like Mississippi, who are we? And I thought, because I know we're beautiful. We're beautiful. The moment that we can believe that, the more that we believe that, if we can do that, we'll be free to be that. And by the time I got home, I contacted my band and I said, I've got this song that Mississippi needs to hear. And of course, you never should pocket a song yourself. You shouldn't sponsor it. But I just felt the need for Mississippians to realize that. I'm like, I don't think they know. And so I sponsored the entire song myself, produced it, and just started singing it wherever I could. I mean, I would call up, this is something that you would do, Marshall Ramsey. This is something that you would do. So I would call up city halls in the mayor's office, and I would say, my name is Pam Confer, and I've written this song for Mississippi, and I would love to come sing it on the steps of your city hall. All I want is for you to invite your citizens there.
Yeah.
So they would say, okay, who is this again? Because who does that? Yeah. This is serious. And so I would say, my name is Pam. They would say, well, how much is it, man? I would say nothing. I'm going to bring my own equipment. I'm going to get myself there. All I want you to do is bring your people to the steps of City Hall. And that's what I've been doing since I wrote the song, is traveling wherever I can. And to see the faces, you have differently abled people, short, tall, black, white, Asian, Native, it doesn't even matter, all together, rallying around the lyrics to a song. And at the end, we're all hugging. And I'm hoping that they all go back individually and do something in their arena, do something to change the trajectory of Mississippi just by the lyrics of a song, because that's what songs do. So yeah, it's an evolution is amazing. And I never want to not evolve. So for anyone out there that feels like you're going through something, I'm not necessarily the Bible thumping person that says, here's what you should do. But everything you need is right here. And if you don't keep your eyes open, if you don't keep your head up when you're going through something, you're going to miss the opportunities that are right there before you. Always head up, eyes open, and your opportunities are right there.
I mean, I totally applaud that you do that. And of course, if I called up anybody and said, I'm going to come and sing on your steps, they would literally have me arrested, because nobody wants to hear me sing. So the good news is you actually are very, very amazingly talented when it comes to singing. So that helps a lot. But the one thing I've discovered, I guess, in 25 years of living here and traveling from schools and meeting students, and I think per capita, we have some of those talented kids in this state than I've ever seen. And I've lived in a lot of states. I think sometimes what we lack is a belief that we can do great things. And it doesn't really help when you hear the negative influences out there, telling people they can't do things. And so, I mean, I applaud the fact that you do that, but how do you amplify your voice? How do you get that message out there? Because I know that's a big part of what you do.
Yeah, that's really true. I have this talk that I do, this theory that I developed called circle shifting, and it's my
Yeah.
own theory, and it's about influencing your personal circles from within.
Yeah.
So many of us, like you, I'm a part of a number of organizations, so are you, and we tend to just exist in them, and we move like with, so how do you put yourself in these circles and move those circles from within? How do
Right.
you move them? Because at the end of the day, that's what we need for progression to help. So there are three things that I talk about during this circle shifting talk. And the first of them is to be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
You posted something recently about appreciating those around you that keep you lifted.
Yeah.
And the moments that you are not successful like you should be is because you think it's you.
Yeah.
I saw that post recently, and I wholeheartedly agree. That's your authenticity. That's why people love Marshall Ramsey. That's why. You're just who you are. You're in the kitchen with Mississippi Stories behind you. There's no pretentiousness. There's no shadow. There's no veil. There's no stage. There's no curtain. It is just you. And all of us have to learn how to do that. And a large part of that is accepting ourselves for everything that's great and everything we'd like to improve.
Yeah.
No,
it's hard. No, it's hard. And I'll tell you, anybody that deals with any kind of trauma or anything that you may have had in your life, you're probably walking around with this little voice of doubt in your head. And so, and for me, thank you for what you said. That was incredibly kind. I learned a long time ago that I'm a terrible liar because I can't remember my lies. So I just try to be as honest as I can because it's just easier to keep up with that way. And the fact that my dog Pip would definitely bite me if I started getting too hard on that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think be the change you want to see, as the quote goes. I've always said that if you could change the world if everybody changed the world right around them, then the world would change for the better instantly because we have a lot of people, and so I agree on that. I tell you what, before we dive into this next part, I just want to say that Mississippi Stories has picked up a new sponsor, and I want to give them a quick shout out. And we're going to do a little bit about them at the end. The University of Mississippi Medical Center. I want to say thank you to them. The state's only academic medical center has picked up a sponsorship on the Mississippi Stories, and I wanted to thank my good friends over there for doing that as well. Okay, so you are incredibly optimistic, but you're also realistic. You are a self-proclaimed Joy Scout, which I love, by the way. I think did you come up with that? That's just
I did.
Okay. You're very smart. So, I don't think I would ever, I'm probably a tenderfoot Joy Scout. You're probably an Eagle Scout when on that, but a little bit when, I met you, like I said, 20 something years ago now, and we were both a little younger. We both looked exactly the same as we do now.
Exactly.
But what were you like as a kid? And what was your life as a kid that kind of propelled you into this constant ball of energy and getting good things done?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Growing up, I was really shy.
Sorry, that just brings laughter. I'm sorry.
I saw that. Yeah, but growing up, I was really, really, really shy.
Yeah.
And I didn't smile. I know I didn't smile until I got to college. That's Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee, small HBCU that helped me discover who I am and what my value is to this world. But I was really shy. I was the type of girl that would hide in the bathroom, Marshall, during the breaks until the bell would ring. And then I'd run to class as quick as I could because I didn't want anyone to see me because I thought I was atrocious. It was my existence from birth probably to 12th grade was a lot like a lot of people that we know. It was just tumultuous. It was just unpredictable, and it was painful, and it was just hard to find myself and to exist. And that's who I was.
Well, Pam, let me butt in for 2 seconds because I know enough about trauma and childhood trauma to know that if that happens to you as a kid, you end up blaming yourself. So it causes that self-esteem to go into the toilet. So I completely understand why you were hiding, but that's once your brain is programmed like that, it's really hard to break. And you obviously have. So this part of the story, I think, is where I totally find it fascinating that you were able to overcome this loud chorus of self-doubt that was going on in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly the way you can describe it. A loud chorus, just, you're in this like snow globe.
Yeah.
And everything that comes down is fear, doubt, frustration, a lack of understanding of future, just constantly. And then someone shakes you up and those same things, nothing different comes down on you. That's a perfect way to describe that. And it is really difficult. I think for me, the most fortunate thing for me in my life is that I sing. I'm a poet. I write, I illustrate, not as good as you, right? But I'm an illustrator. And thank goodness I had these outlets to do those things through. Yeah. And seriously, I went to college because I was washing dishes in my kitchen in high school, about to graduate. And our pastor, Reverend Scipio, called me and said, "Where are you going to college?" And I'm washing dishes. And I say, like a lot of kids who don't know, I say, "I don't know." He says, "Well, would you like to go to Lane College?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Okay, I'll pick you up Saturday." So it was like a Wednesday. So I go in and I tell my dad, who's watching TV, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to college Saturday." He goes, "Oh, okay, babe." And that Saturday, Reverend Scipio picked me up from my home. My dad comes out and he waves. And Reverend Scipio takes me to Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee. And he says, "On Monday, I need for you to take out a loan." And I said, "Oh, okay." So Monday I went and I took out a loan for $2,650 for that first semester. And I started school. That's how I went to college. And in high school, I wasn't a high performer, except for in English because of the traffic in my mind. Some kids can excel, some kids, disintegrate. And I was really shy, really quiet. No one ever knew what was going on with me. I was the quietest person you could ever find anywhere. Quiet.
You're making up for lost time now.
I am. So I go to college. I do that. My first semester, our financial advisor calls me into her office, Mrs. Kaiser, and she tells me, "Sit down," and I sit down and I'm scared. And she goes, "I want to know how you went from like a 2.9 in high school to a 4.0 your first semester in college." And I said, I don't know. And so she gives me a full scholarship right there.
Wow.
From there, my professor started saying, "You write really well." And I was like, "No, I'm not smart." They're like, "No, you write well." And they started entering me into academic competitions against seniors and juniors. And I started winning. And I realized when I went to Lane College, you got to be kidding me, I'm smart. And then from there, pageants, you're attractive. I'm like, "No, I'm not." And I would look down all the time. And, all the guys would say, "Oh, she's so stuck up." And I'm like, "No, I don't want anyone to see me." It's why I'm looking down. And people started saying you should get in pageants. And I did. And I won Miss Lane College, was black and gold. I was top 11 in the Miss Tennessee pageant. I won the talent award there. And that's how I became to realize who I was. And I said at that moment, for the rest of my life,
yeah,
if I can pour into anyone, I will. As long as I have teeth, and even when I don't, I'm going to smile because that's important. And I never want anyone else, young, old, to ever feel like I felt. And that is my impetus for being this Joy Scout. If you don't have it, you can plug into me. I've got some, but I'm pretty sure I can help you find your joy. That's why I'm here. And I never want to do anything else. I can't do anything else.
So you figured out your why that day. I always joke about that angels come with funny clothes sometimes. Did you check that pastor for wings?
Oh, he definitely is.
He totally changed the total direction of your life.
Yeah.
Where you'd be. Yeah.
Unselfish people know how to look for the light in people that don't know they have it. You have to be unselfish to do that. And how he knew I wasn't prepared, I didn't have anything together, I do not know. But that phone call and that pickup, and Marshall, a grown man, probably, I thought he was old, but he probably was younger than me then.
Yeah.
But a grown man picks up a high school student
Oh, that's true.
that's
Yeah.
insecure and takes her an hour away in his car. And all he does is drop her off with good advice.
Yeah.
Nothing else. It never came back for anything else. Never felt that it should be reciprocated in some way that would be unlawful and unfair to her. That's what he did. And that's what he meant. And that's what he wanted for me. So Reverend Scipio, Lane College changed my entire life. HBCUs in many ways are designed for people to succeed, right? They're designed to just polish you. They're designed to unleash you to the world once they've refined you to help you realize who you are. So I'm grateful for my HBCU because it was designed for people just like me.
What did you do directly out of college?
Wow, directly out of college. Let me see.
I was a janitor, so obviously whatever you did was cooler. So
no, I can't. I'm not quite sure. I think I did a number of things. I remember working in the dorm. It's like one of the dorm mothers, and that was really interesting.
I could imagine.
I remember doing that. I remember working on my graduate degree, coming straight here once I graduated. I remember doing that. And I can't, everything is kind of a blur in that area for some reason. I remember working at the peer committee right after graduate school, which was just awesome to understand.
So you went to graduate school. How long of a period between graduation and graduate school was there? Did you go right into graduate?
Yeah. I graduated in 93.
Yeah.
And then I enrolled at Jackson State in 94. I always knew that I wanted to do more. There were two doctors, Nathan and I think Julia Hare, or I would just go with Nathan and his wife, just in case I'm getting her name wrong. Yeah. But they visited my campus and they were brilliant. And they talked about the crisis in the Black community and they were so profound and so articulate. And I thought, I'm going to get my doctorate. So I always knew that I was going to continue going on. It wasn't a doubt in my mind. So I went to Jackson State and was able to do that. And I think at one point, my mom and I may have been there at the same time. Yet we were at the same time getting our master's. She's got an incredible story as well. And so we kind of were honored together in the Honor Society at one point together. It was really cool. But
that is cool.
Yep. Thank you.
I mean, seriously, you obviously had a great role model in your mom too.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If and this is for kids and people out there that are coming to realize that no one is perfect.
Yeah.
No parent, no sibling, no family member, no mentor is perfect. Our job is to find those characteristics that we can incorporate into our beings, right? That help make us better people. And yes. So she was so resilient. She still is a resilient person, just, comical, a lot like me. So is my dad. I kind of get it from both sides. Just spirited, intuitive, quiet, very quiet, but also a storm at the same time. So yeah, love her.
So a lot of students, when they leave Mississippi and for going to college or going to their first job or whatever reason, they don't ever come back. You came back. Why Mississippi?
Yeah, well, I grew up in between here and Memphis, Tennessee. And I have this tendency, probably a lot like you, to attach myself to things that have potential.
Yeah.
I think, you can go some places already there, or you can stay in a place where you can help to shape it and make it what it is. And I'm so attached to the enormous potential that Mississippi has. And I feel obligated by my soul, by my spirit, by my destiny to do my part here, to make Mississippi beautiful, or really to make Mississippians realize how beautiful we are. How many places can you go to? And if you're on the coast, you think you're in Florida with all the palm trees, right? And then you can go to the Delta and you're at the origin, right? You can see things in its natural state for Mississippi in the same place. I mean, how many states can you have that experience in? Not many, and have all this talent that emanates naturally. No schools, no private lessons, dance lessons, nothing, just being born and you're brilliant. How many states? It's here. And I think our job, people like you, people like me, is to continue to dig. I mean, we need shovels. We don't need like these little chisels. We need shovels, people with big shovels in Mississippi to get this dirt off of our talent, to get this dirt off of our history and off of our future. And that's why I'm here. That's why I stay in this atmosphere, as thick as it can become sometimes. That's why I swim my way through, this Mississippi fog. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd be here 2 years. Been here 25. It's kind of the Hotel California, I guess, of states. But, I've always said that, that Mississippi is kind of like an oyster in the sense that grit, that irritant, the things that drive us crazy are what create our greatest pearls. I mean, it's literally, that's why we have the blues, for instance. I mean, you can go, and not to give them a huge shout out, but you can go to the BB King Museum and you understand why BB King was BB King. He sat in literally a dark shed, learning to play his guitar and lived the rest of his life terrified of the dark. But he became a master because of the pressure that he was under. But that's why I think that we produce so many great stories and storytellers, is because we have that underlying angst that we need to fix, and I think that's a big part of it. That's just my 2 cents.
That's so good. That's so right. It's richness, it's complicated, and it's resilience. Those 3 things. It's like the formula for a Mississippian, right? That's how.
But that's why we have to tell our whole history, because I think it's important. You can't just do positive Mississippi and say, oh no, because that's not why we are who we are. I mean, we are because of the problems too, and that's what makes us great. And I'll quit preaching. I'll get off my pedestal here, but
go ahead, Pastor. It's fine.
Oh, Lord, you don't want me preaching now. That causes all kinds of angst and gnashing of teeth. But so you're doing a lot of training, consulting. I mean, you've gotten into that line of work. Like I said, you had a great job with a great company. God bless them. It was a great opportunity, but it's literally like when that door closed, every window opened up and opportunity came flooding in. What recommendation would you give to people right now that may have lost a job, or they may be struggling right now, and they can't see that path in front of them? And because obviously, there was no obvious path for you when that day, when you got that phone call, and I've gotten that phone call too. I know exactly how you felt on that day. Yeah. And your first inclination is to get mad at the world, but you got busy. And tell us a little, what advice would you give people to say, okay, and this is how you pick yourself up, and this is how you be resilient?
Yeah, I think that it's about interpretation. I think for some things that we think we're clinging to, they're more like tethering us to them. And a job doesn't define you. Purpose defines you. There are common threads I consider in my life that doesn't allow doors to close.
Yeah.
Just revolve, right? They don't close. And unleashing me out to do the same thing I was doing for a corporation for the world is a benefit, right? I still get a chance to use the principles and the relationships and the wonderful opportunities afforded me with the corporate opportunity. Now I can do this anywhere, including with them. I still have great friends that work there. We still get together. We go to concerts. We have a good time together. We keep each other lifted. But I do think that the revolving door for me is what it is. And everybody's path is different. Yeah. But when you have talents, I think as big as what I consider mine to be, they're not designed for one entity.
Yeah.
They're designed to sprinkle, like little joy dust, around everywhere. I wouldn't have opportunities to work in London like I am, and do work in Cairo, and be able to also speak in Spanish, because I speak Spanish, and my ultimate goal is to train entirely in Spanish with Spanish-speaking communities. I'm doing it a little bit now, because I speak pretty good, especially with people that are American. They think I'm great, but they think I'm flawless. But that's what I'm doing, and that's what. And to be honest, I've trained in HR at Marshall for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So part of my it was so significant, so important to me that in my interview with the corporation I worked with, that was my negotiation, that I am an HR trainer. I've always done it. I need to be able to continue to do that for Mississippians. And the agreement was yes, continue. So what this allowed me to do was, so I trained for 20 something years, and I'm just out doing it a lot more full time with my experiences as a backdrop. So not only can I talk about government and nonprofit organizations, I've been at the table with VPs and executive VPs and presidents. I have made the case for community. And I would have never had that opportunity had I not had this. So what can you take from all of your frustrations, and how can you make like the best pie ever? It doesn't have to be a chocolate pie. Like, what other ingredients can you put in a pie from your experiences? And once you make a pie, most people, unless you're greedy like me, but most people that will make a pie, you give it. So you make this pie of your cornucopia of experiences, and then you start slicing it up and giving it to people who you know could benefit from it. And that's what I'm doing. And we all can do that. It doesn't mean you're not going to be disappointed. What it means is that you take this disappointment and you transfer it to your energy, right? All the energy you can spend being upset and being
bitter,
lamenting. All of that can be transferred, transitioned into this energy and your fuel. And that's what you have. And if some bridges can become more fortified even through tension, right? And that's what I think I've been able to do in this corporate entity. I'm really proud about it. And I hope to continue to do that, to show people, what resilience looks like and how you keep relationships even though you're not there.
How scary is it to put out your shingle and go out on your own?
Say it again.
How scary is it to put out your own shingle and go at it on your own?
I think I don't really see it as being scary. I see fear as my friend more as a foe or someone I need to get rid of, because fear is going to always have you to ask why. Like, why don't you want to do this? And so for me, I don't know if I even consider it alone. I consider it with people like you and with people that I meet from all over the world. You talked about speaking to 100 people, 1,000, I think, people recently.
It was 1 million. Yeah.
Oh, 1 million. Okay. Let's
maybe about 2 million.
So. Okay. We'll just say 3 million people.
Yeah. Thanks.
That you spoke with recently. I've had a chance to Zoom and do HR training with 12 like French speaking countries in Africa on Zoom. Just awesome. So it's you're never really alone.
Yeah.
First of all, your purpose is right there with you. Your purpose is walking with you. But then there are people that you impact that stay there. And if you do things right, even when you leave a room, you're still there. If you're walking right. And so when I leave rooms from around the world, I'm still there. The impact is still there. So that means they're still with me as well. I don't consider it being alone. I consider it being full, purposeful, and spirits around me, guiding me, auras that are providing me what I need to give to people. Destiny is serious to me. It's a serious thing to me. And if you're walking in your destiny, there's no way you're by yourself. It's no way.
It sounds like you literally told that voice in your head to just shut up and you move forward. I mean, it's like I've known a lot of people that have struggled to get past that don't quite understand their wiring and they don't know how to rewire themselves. But it sounds like that you just once you got that little boost in college, that you figured out that action was the way to be able to finally silence that negative voice once and for all.
Mm-hmm. And again, for me, I watch Fox News, CNN, I watch everything. Why?
That'll give you a brain freeze.
Well, it's because I want to get everybody's view.
Right.
I never want to be stuck in one lane, thinking one way. I want to know why people think the way they think. I want to know what they read. I want to know who they listen to on all sides. It allows me to be objective.
Yeah.
So for me to say that a voice is negative, I don't know if I see it that way. I see it as maybe more necessary, maybe minimal compared to, the greater things I need to do.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes we need to be pricked and we need to be uncomfortable. We need to figure out kind of what's going on. And again, I attach myself to potential.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And if you work in an organization, that's what you do. You attach yourself to the potential of them being better, and you forget that there's a greater world out there. And I think for me, I forgot that there's a greater world, that this does not have to be your space, that the world is your space. And that's what I never want to forget. The reason training is important to me, Marshall, is because I get a chance to sit in a room, I don't know, a day, half a day, whatever, training on bias, diversity, inclusion. But I get a chance to walk away and go help somebody else. I don't have to stay and watch you not do it. I've done my part. Yeah. I poured into you. I've given you examples, self-deprecating humor like you do. I'm doing everything I can to show you this is the way you should go. And I'm going to leave you be. And I'm going to hope with all my heart that you do all the principles and tenets that we talked about. And then I get a chance to go help another organization suffering through the same thing. And I would not have been able to do that had I been at one place, just hammering away at one. So I'm grateful that I can plant these seeds everywhere. And if you give yourself enough time, you will see how your misfortunes just change into how they shape your life forever. And how they really make you more positive, although you think they should do the opposite.
One thing that really kind of got my attention is and you told this to me the other day, when you're talking about how you watch all the different news and everything. And I'm at just being halfway through a master's in journalism and media. I understand that there is research that shows that we are literally what we consume in the way of media. That is our worldview. That is how we frame everything. And that has made it really tough with internet and with the breakdown of traditional media, and the fact that people now can get into their own little bubbles and their little media worlds. And so you and I can have a conversation about what went on in the summer of 2020 with, basically the turmoil that went on for good reason. I mean, it was understandable why it happened, but you and I would have a conversation maybe, and we'd be seeing it from two totally different perspectives, and we can't have that conversation. How do we as a country, and you obviously deal with this on an HR front, how do we as a country, when we're coming from different worldviews, have that conversation with empathy and be able to understand what the person across from us is thinking and going through? That was a long question. Sorry about that.
No, that was good. That was good. That wasn't long. Wasn't long to me. I think we established guideposts.
Yeah.
We have to go back to that, to a structured conversation until we can talk more freely, because not only do we have different views, we have different personalities. Some people are a lot more dominant. Some people are not. They're more docile. They're not going to really speak up. So we've got to respect each other where we are. And if I'm talking to you and I say, let's talk about this flag, let's talk about how far we've come since we changed it, and we just start, right, it's going to be traffic. But if I say, all right, how do we want to do this? And then we say, okay, well, we'll let the other person finish before we start. Okay, let's do that. And we take ownership of what that should look like for us. Then we can monitor each other as we go and make sure that we respect the space that we've designed for this particular conversation. Yeah. I don't think enough of us do that, because we just start talking, and before we know it, it's like a snowball and we can't stop. But we have to have respect of person. I've heard some very interesting things, as it relates to race bias, and you have to allow people to express that. How do you change somebody's mind if you don't listen to what they're saying?
Yeah.
And how do you change their mind if you tell them they're wrong once they start speaking? You can't. So as painful as it is to hear some things, listen to the backdrop, get an understanding of the why, and then try to engage. But I think those guideposts are very important. How are we going to narrate this conversation between us so that we won't argue if somebody gets up and leaves?
Well, and I think about it, like I said, you and I know each other pretty well. And I would feel comfortable if you said to me, hey, this is what's going on. This is what you're doing. This is the way I see it. because we have a degree of friendship, that I would respect that and go, oh, okay. Whether even if I disagreed with you, agreed with you, I would respect your opinion because we have that. And I think a lot of times that's lacking because we kind of get into those bubbles and we don't have a friendship, a level of trust in between people. I mean, there are a handful of people in my life that if they called me on my BS, I'd go, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. There aren't many of them, but there are a few of them. But I mean, and somehow I don't know how we get to that point. I mean, like I said, we've kind of gotten the point where we drive into our neighborhood and pull into our house and the garage door goes down and we cease to even know who lives two doors down. And that's, I really do think that's a major challenge, but you're obviously out there and pretty darn busy, trying to break down those walls.
Yeah, and with the help of the people that I'm working with, it's certainly not something that, we all have to be open-minded enough to accept that we may not be doing things the right way, and if COVID has changed us so much, then our conversation should be different because, why are we talking the same? Why are we doing the same things after some pandemic? And now this war, it's like, can we just not have so many things in our lifetime, Marshall? Like a pandemic was good enough, but now we got a war, gosh, can we just have some peace? But I think it does challenge us to mature up.
Yeah.
Like it challenges us to become stronger in our convictions and to have a better way of gingerly presenting our views, especially through social media. We could just be so hard on each other sometimes. And I think stepping back and realizing, one, that we're all human, we make mistakes. And if you do, just say, oh, I thought, don't keep going with a lie if it's a lie. Just step back and say, oh, I read it from or I heard it from, and now I know better. But sometimes our egos get so big that we continue to go with something that we know makes no sense whatsoever. And it's no reason to do that. It's no reason to do that.
But, I think it's also a great source of dopamine and we love to chase pleasure. It's fun to get into a good Facebook fight with somebody. It's like, woohoo, this is kind of fun. You are to your credit, you're very positive in what you put out there and you're very careful about that. And frankly, I have really kind of dialed back too. I don't really do a lot of preachy stuff anymore just because it's like, I'm tired. I don't necessarily want to put that kind of stuff out there, but, I think it's incredibly cool. Like, we were talking the other day and you were like, yep, got to head to London. I'm like, okay. Yeah. I was like, well, I've got to go to Pearl, and you're going to London. I mean, but it's great. I'm so proud of you and the fact that you're able to travel and do all these great things. And how are you received when you go to London or to Egypt and so forth? I mean, because it's always funny. I remember when I was over, I kind of stood out when I was in London because I looked like the American tourist because I'm me, I look like a tourist here. So I kind of have that look, but how are you received when you go talk with companies across the pond?
Yeah, I'm going to say very well. It's just, the affinity for the people and the atmosphere just grows, by day. Other than the fact that I'm walking, smiling the wrong way. It took me a long time to get used to that. Saying, excuse me. Like, ma'am, can you please get on the other side? Sorry. But it's to me, you invite people to appreciate you.
Yeah.
You invite them to do that. And they take your aura. They can discern your authenticity from right away. And what I think we forget, Marshall, is that in Mississippi, we're so friendly anyway. I mean, we really are joy stalkers. I mean, we see you one time, we go, right? And then we see you right by again and we go, we see you in the bathroom, we're like, see you again. We are naturally just charming, charismatic people. So you take us from here and you put us anywhere else, we're going to be on a 10 when we walk in the door, which is what most people need. But yeah, London's been great. As a matter of fact, the one of the companies I'm working with, they will be moving to the United States and I will be supporting them and moving and establishing here and doing work here. But that's what we want, is for Mississippians to make their mark beyond Mississippi. I mean, to me, the world deserves us. The world deserves our talents and all of our attributes. And so I appreciate the Mississippi Development Authority for playing an active role in my being able to travel and do these things, because this is how I've been able to do it. But Mississippi, I don't think we break the molds. I think we make the molds, here in Mississippi, and may we all continue to do that forever.
That's what I told my sons. I said, the one superpower you will pick up here, and particularly at the college that they're at, is how to network.
Yeah.
And that's what we do really well. Who are some, obviously, don't want to throw out all your clients, but you just mentioned MDA. Who are some of the folks you've been able to work with?
At MDA, like local people, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, Monty Hairston is pretty awesome. Vicky Waters.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Bill.
Yeah, companies and so forth around Mississippi too.
Oh, I'm sorry. So
no,
sorry
okay.
I'm using all y'all's names, but you're really good people though. You're really good people. Well, actually on these mission trips that we go on, I've been able to interact with people. Let me just try to explain.
Okay.
Mississippi Development Authority, and what they do is take companies on what they call mission trips. And you may sell light fixtures, you may sell light poles, you may sell armored trucks, right?
So they're showing off the best of Mississippi.
Yeah, to the world. In the hopes of importing, exporting talent, goods, commodities, etc. My services are a little different, and they hadn't done my type of service before, but I'm a Joy Scout.
Yeah.
I'm a Joy Scout. So exactly. I thought HR training, workforce development, diversity and inclusion types of things. Everybody needs this around the world. So it's not that they were sure, I was sure that this would work, right? And it took me to I don't sell things. I sell joy. I sell happiness. That's all I can sell. I'm not a salesperson, but I knew that these things will work around the world. So you go into these spaces and you talk about workforce development. You talk about HR, as I said before, diversity and inclusion. And people think, oh, I hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah.
Huh. We may want to work with you. As a matter of fact, when I was in Santo Domingo talking to companies there about workforce development, I insisted on all of my interviews with companies being in Spanish. And I think that's what Mississippi does. I had an interpreter with me for every company.
Yeah.
But I said to her, I want to do it. If I'm going to do business with a Spanish speaking company, I can't bring an interpreter and speak in English. I'm going to go for it. And I'm pretty sure some things I said, they were like, okay, that ain't that word, right? Because they would go, I'm not quite sure you meant to say that. I'm like, oh, okay, what was it? Okay, and I'd go for it, but that tenacity and that drive and passion is what sells what I have to offer. Because if someone from Mississippi can come to Santo Domingo and insist on speaking with fluent, original Spanish-speaking people in Spanish, that means she can train us because she's humble. She has humility. She's going to make mistakes and she's okay with that. Yes, she's a person that we want to work with. She's not saying she's perfect. She's a guru. She's saying, I have something to offer in a different way, in a different approach. And they're like, let's see what we can do. Yep.
As we wrap up, Pam, but by the way, thank you. This has been a great hour. I've really enjoyed talking to you. What's next for you? What's the next 5 to 10 years look like?
Yeah, very good. So I want to get a book finished. Mm-hmm. And one of the most important things that I plan to have done is an economic development tool, Marshall. So you can stay with me on this one. Okay. I'm developing a cross-cultural competency tool for corporations that move from one space into another. One of the major issues I've seen just across the country and probably the world is that you take a company from Japan, for example, and you work out a great deal with Mississippi, a great deal, tax incentives, et cetera. And they say, great. And they move here and start working. And then there are clashes in how we speak. There are clashes in how we understand culture. And then there are big issues. Yeah. My goal is to establish a tool so that any government anywhere, not only in Mississippi, across the world, they can use this tool in the beginning to plug in all those things about culture from where they're going and their culture. And they use that as a meter to guide relationships, to guide their hiring practices so that when they get good employees, they can keep them. Because it doesn't make sense to get great people if you lose them because of a culture clash. And what I've found, even with the previous company that I worked with, although that company was the first of its kind in Mississippi, it was a gift to Mississippi. But the lessons learned is that we've got to get places and understand the people first, so that we can relate to them. I'm going to say this one thing, Mississippians, as we talked about being, I don't know if they're as hyper as I am, but we have a lot to say. We love being around other people. You can have some cultures that would say, wow, Mississippians are lazy because before they work, they just talk so much. They're always talking, they're talking. And I've heard this, like, why do you all talk so much? Well, we're intimate people. If you move a company to Mississippi, you're going to know that we're going to ask about your children. We're going to ask about PIP. We're going to want to know if you're healthy and happy before we begin work. And on the way to our cars, we're going to talk about the weekend. We're going to talk about things like church. It's what we do. It doesn't mean we're lazy. It means we're intimate. But if a company from another country doesn't understand that and they're used to getting to work, not talking, they're going to think this isn't going to work. So that's what my tool is going to be designed to do, is introduce cultures to each other from the beginning so you can get the best employees that will stay forever and for generations to work in your workplace. That's what I think we want. So look for that in the next 5 years. I think I'm going to call it the comfort tool. I mean, we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We can have the comfort tool, and that will hopefully shape the way we do business internationally forever.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I want to thank real quick the University of Mississippi Medical Center for sponsoring today's show. They are the state's only academic medical center. Its education, research, and healthcare missions share the objectives of improving the health of the state's population and eliminating health disparities. It's located here in Jackson. UMMC encompasses 7 health science schools, including medicine, nursing, health-related professions, dentistry, pharmacy, graduate studies, and population health. The medical center's healthcare enterprises include the state's only level 1 trauma center, only children's hospital, and only organ and bone marrow transplant program. The medical center is also home to the telehealth center of excellence, only one of 2 in the nation. For more information, visit www.umc.edu. Pam, I literally could talk to you every day. It's just great. I know you're just, it's uplifting and positive, and I think you really gave us a lot of good wisdom today. And I just appreciate you spending the time with us, and I've enjoyed getting to spend this time together.
Thank you. I agree so much. I love you so much. Thank you for everything you're doing to provoke constructive dialogue in the state of Mississippi. We need it. We need it.
Well, I kind of feel like if I can draw the snarky cartoons, then I need to do nice stuff on the side to save my soul.
So one washes out the other.
Something like that. I don't know. Maybe no, I don't think I have a chance. But anyway, it's funny. I moved here a long time ago and I fell in love with the place and I wanted the best for it. And I know you feel the same way. So that's why I love talking to you.
Yeah, same here. I just want to tell everybody one of my favorite quotes is an original quote. Yeah. But it's not how you shine, it's who you polish. And I think if we could just live by that and wake up every day remembering I need to polish someone today, you're going to shine because you're going to see your reflection through them.
Yeah, my football coach had a quote that was very similar about polishing turds, but I like your version better. So. Yeah, he didn't quite phrase it that way, but you know how football coaches can be. So
I love it.
Yeah, Pam, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Marshall.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Mississippi Stories. Make sure to subscribe to the Mississippi Today YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified every time a new video uploads.